Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, my name is Mrs. Denise Parker. I am the Managing Director for Internships and Careers at National College Resources Foundation. I am also here just to introduce you guys to some amazing opportunities here with our organization. You might know us from our Latino College Expos, our Black College Expos, also our Movement Enrichment Program that we help our students get plenty of opportunities, not just for college, but for careers and beyond. And this is Elevate Your Game. It is a series focused on you, helping you to increase your opportunities, increase your awareness of the different career pathways, and learn from industry experts. The industry experts that we're going to be talking with today are amazing. And it's Hispanic Heritage Month. We're kicking it off at the beginning of September, and now towards the end of September, October, the whole month of Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th, we have been speaking with industry experts who are from our Latin community. And I'm so excited for this presentation today. I just want to get right into it. We have some special announcements, but I don't want to spend too much time on that because there's so many different other things that we're going to be doing today. So to get us started, I want to introduce our panel, our special guests. We have two that are going to be joining us, and then our last one is going to be joining us a little bit later. My special guests are from the Visual Effects Society, a wonderful organization that focuses on helping those who don't know about visual effects to learn more about this industry, the making of the movies and the magic behind it, all the special effects you see that you go to and you just get wild on television and on the big screen. These people have that. They do all this stuff. They do all this stuff that you're interested in. And you might have careers that you're never thought that you can do, like stuff like, animation and how the special effects of animation, there's so many different details. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So I'm going to bring on my team. Come on to the forefront. Introduce yourselves.
Hello. Hi, thank you for having us here.
Yes. I have this visual up right now just in case people want to join while they're watching live on YouTube, on all our social media channels, Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are where we're doing all this live streaming. So if you guys want to join and meet these wonderful individuals, please do scan that QR code to join and ask questions a little bit later. But I want you guys to go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell me who you are and what do you represent? Where do you represent? What do you represent? Who are you? All that good stuff.
Sure thing. Thank you very much, Denise. My name is Jose Marin. I am a senior compositor, which is one of the branches within visual effects. I am also a trainer, and I also am the co-chair for the Visual Effects Society New York section, which, as Denise introduced, was a fantastic organization, both for those within the industry and for those who are interested in the industry itself. So, happy to be here and looking forward to some good conversations. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jose. Go ahead.
I'm Sebastian. My name is Sebastian Romero. I'm a visual effects compositor as well. I am a member of the Visual Effects Society in the New York branch. And I have a background in graphic design, but I ended up working in visual effects for movies and TV, and that's what I'm doing.
Excellent. So now that we just got our light introductions, why is it important right now to be sharing to our audience? We have an audience of all different backgrounds and nationalities, but specifically it's Latin Heritage Month. And why is it important for you guys to be here?
Well, a great question. I think that most importantly is to communicate and to talk and to hopefully be able to answer some questions that I think may just be something that might be keeping someone from being able to move forward in their aspirations or dreams when there's plenty of people who are ready to answer those questions and to help guide that way. So that's one of the main reasons that we're here. People may not realize that as big and booming as this industry is right now, we still need more people. We need more talent, and we're trying to connect the people who have something to give and express into the community and in the industry with those who are looking for the people who have those talents and stories to tell. So
Exactly, and diversity is vital for any industry, but in our industry especially, because no visual effects task or project is done in isolation. You need a team of people to do anything. And so having people with different backgrounds that can bring with themselves their own experiences, their own points of view, that always contributes to a better solution to every problem or every project. Having more voices is always better. It's always for the better. So the more that we have people coming from Hispanic backgrounds, Latino backgrounds, everywhere, it makes everything better. If that makes sense.
Yes, it enriches the lives of the people who you are guys trying to reach, especially if you're working on films and projects, when they have representation, actually, doing these things and making sure that your voice matters, because you guys can reflect or look at a project and you can say, hey, we wouldn't do it like this if you're trying to reach a community that is the demographic of the Hispanic, community. We wouldn't do it like that. This is how it needs to be done, because this is what the color should look like. This is what the flavor should look like. You guys can put your input. So now that we just kind of just broken the ice a little bit and say why you're here, I want everybody to look at that QR code real quick, scan it, join us, or watch us on Facebook, LinkedIn, all our socials. You can definitely just follow us there. Ask questions in the chat. You can make comments. We'll definitely look out for those. And for those who are joining behind the scenes, behind the stage, you'll be able to come on and ask questions directly to these wonderful industry experts. They're here to service us to actually, why are they in visual effects? That's what we're going to find out. So I'm going to remove this so we can actually really see our faces.
In the big screen.
Okay, so basically, how did you guys get started? I mean, who would have thought visual effects?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Define it first, and then how did you get started?
Sure. Sebastian, do you want to go first on that one?
Sure. Yeah. Why not? I have a degree in a bachelor in the arts. So I studied to be a graphic designer. So I started from a different field, like a sister field. If you, I mean, it's visual too. So that led me to something called motion design, which is essentially graphic design with movement. And I ended up landing a job where it was a small studio, so we had to do a bunch of different things, wear many hats. So I ended up doing some of these visual effects here and there, very basic, but someone had to do it, and I just did my toes into that, and I ended up liking it so much that I switched to that. So I ended up, I started from graphic design. I ended up working in commercials, in TV commercials, for a very long time, for many years. And that was back home. So I'm from Argentina. And back home, I used to work mainly in commercials. And when I moved to the US, that's when I switched to working on episodic television and film. So it's essentially you use the same skill set, but on the scale of the projects is different. So yeah, that's a brief summary of my journey.
Yeah.
Excellent. Jose, how about you?
So if I might add, Harris, if I'm not mistaken, Sebastian, when you started working out in visual effects, I believe that's when you came to New York. Isn't that right? I think like, that's where we met.
Right.
When we started working together when you first came out. So we started
That's true.
his first company freelancing out here in the States. Got to be where we were at to meet. Yeah, so definitely it's a small industry, first of all. And you'll meet a lot of people, and you'll probably travel and go to different places, and then somehow against all odds you'll find each other again, more so than any other industry I've seen. So
That's true.
But yeah, thank you. My here I go ahead. Can I go ahead and share something real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and share.
Awesome.
We're gonna make this fun and just festive and talk about this whole industry, which is kind of complicated now since COVID, right?
It changed a little bit. Yeah.
It changed a lot. Everything has changed a little and a lot, and how we
True.
movies and how we need to have more interaction with, that special effects, that the whole thing that you guys are doing on your side, like people take it for granted. Like you go to the movies, you sit in there, you get entertained, but they don't know all the work it takes to get there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Someone has to do that, right? Put that work in.
So I guess on that note, I'll go ahead and present this. So first off, who is this guy? So I think we kind of covered that. So I'm just going to skip right to the next thing. But this is the reason I wanted to kind of bring this up. And this is a great pipeline. This is an image created by Andy Bean. I share this with all my students and anybody who will listen. This is a really great presentation of your typical and very, I'd say typical, but like still more a standardized sort of view of a 3D animation pipeline. And we go through all of these different steps, going from idea to story, storyboard, and every single one of these steps not only interacts with one another, but each one of these is its own job and specialty. So every single one of these steps in this whole pipeline can be its own career path. That's the beauty of it. And in fact, everything that I've been doing for the last, 14 and change years has, for the most part, been in this one little section right here, compositing. Part of what Sebastian was talking about was the motion graphics part of it too. However, for me personally, kind of going for where I came from and what got me into this, I went to a school that allowed me to, at the very least, touch a little bit of every single one of this part of the pipeline. I went in there specifically to try to learn to be initially a 2D animator. Then I picked up 3D animation. And then finally, I took compositing as an elective just to make my projects better. And then something clicked for me like nothing else that I had learned before. And then I ran with that for the last decade and change. But each one of these things, I just wanted to say that like is its own career path, its own specialty. But as Sebastian also mentioned before, when you go to a different size studio, you might be covering multiple skill sets that are represented here.
And so, it's very common. It's very common for an artist when they're developing their career to switch what they want to do, because once you go into this and you start understanding how many roles are involved in making a film or an episodic TV or a TV commercial even, then you realize I like what I do, but maybe I would like that thing even better. So that's also a possibility. Like you can get your foot in the door doing any of these things that sound interesting to you, but then you will find out there's more. It's always deeper than what you see on the surface, and it's super common. I know a lot of people that have switched their roles within the same industry. That's also a possibility.
Well, see now your little this 3D production pipeline, pre-production, production, and post-production. Each of you guys have worked either in this space or stayed in one particular. What's the difference between the three when you're thinking pre-production? What does that mean? So what does it mean versus production and post-production?
Sure. You can think of production in the middle as essentially sort of the meat and potatoes of everything that you are putting together. Think of it as if you were kind of translating it into cooking. Say that this is, you are preparing the dish, you are making the dish. Pre-production is all the planning. You're making your list, you're getting your ingredients and getting your team together, making sure you have the tools you need, all of that stuff. And then post-production is essentially, imagine if you are plating it, you are presenting it, you are combining the ingredients in a way that is now appealing and presentable as a final product, not just as a sum of its parts. So each one of those things kind of falls into that kind of sort of role: planning, creation, and then the essentially putting it together into a final product.
And so how long, one of the questions happened in the chat, so how long would you say from pre to post, how long does it take to finish working on a particular project, film, television, Like
Oh,
it can go.
that
I mean,
dep-
funding is
it
everything.
depends. It depends on the scope of the project. There are movies that take 4 years to make, and there are TV commercials that are done in a week. So there's a gamut. It can go from something very fast to a very long time.
That's
Absolutely.
interesting. So when you're thinking about a career in visual effects, you have to think about where you're going to set in. Are you going to be a part of the pre-production side? Are you part of the production side, or the post, the editing and all that all that stuff? How does one make a decision when they're like, how did you guys make a decision where you guys land? Or do you guys do a little bit of everything?
I think I did not only a little bit of everything, but I don't think I looked at it as pre-production, production, or post-production, mostly because I wasn't as familiar with those terms or those parts of the pipeline. I looked at the skill sets. So, for example, what I had mentioned is I had started wanting to be an animator. So I wanted to actually, move the characters around and basically create a performance for the character. At one point, I started getting very interested in effects, which is more of simulations like fire, water, things like that. And then wanting to combine those things is what led me to compositing. So in that manner, I think there was a little bit of looking at what the skills and problem solving required for that kind of part of the pipeline. And then there's something that appealed to me. And in that case, it's almost like finding your favorite flavor puzzle, and if that makes sense. And each one of these is not only its own skill set, but being able to take it from beginning to end and seeing how all the parts relate to each other is definitely a big part of that. So it's being able to communicate, not just know how to work a software or know how to communicate, or have an artistic eye. It's those three things. It's the technical, the artistic, and the communication.
And also, all of these roles, it can be intimidating. That's what I was mentioning, like previously. Like, even once you're in, you start to discover there's more than you thought it was there. But all of these things have a common background. So it's not like if you jump into one of these roles, then you want to switch to something else, that everything that you've learned is useless. No. It's not like that. It's the opposite, actually.
Yes.
The more you know, the better. So the first step would be making movies appeal to you, and that's the very first thing. And then going into it, every skill that you acquire will be useful for any of these roles, and each of these roles then will get their own specific skill set, of course, but there's a common ground that you have to get into first.
What is that common ground? What is that common ground? Would you say that would be you need to get into? Like, Jose, you said animation, you were drawing a lot.
Yeah.
How about Sebastian? Were you drawing a lot and just kind of tinkering?
Photography as well. That's something.
Number one.
Yeah.
Why photography is a good gateway to this?
Everything that we're doing is to try to replicate. I guess the easiest way to explain visual effects is that our goal is to make it look like it all got filmed at the same time. Right. That it all existed together and it all happened there together, and
has to feel real.
Yeah, So in that case, we have to understand how a camera works. We have to understand how photography works, and the way that the language of photography specifically translates so one-to-one into cinematography, into videography, into anything that has to do with filmmaking. All of those skill sets, it is the same language. You're talking about the same. You're talking about lenses, lights, maybe sensors or camera models. What that equipment solves for you as a problem, and what the problem was in the first place. All of that is so direct. Even when it comes to after you capture your image, say that you go to edit it, and you do some Photoshop. I like to talk about compositing as Photoshop for moving images. And it is that much more challenging because there's more things that we have to take into consideration, but it's accumulative. So if you learn a little bit of Photoshop, you can move into a different program, no problem. If you learn a little bit of modeling in one program, when we talk about the foundations, or what the common ground is each discipline has its basic foundations. For example, imagine sculpting, whether it's in 3D or with clay, you're going to learn some foundations of perhaps anatomy or form and figure. Those are the very foundations that are going to translate all the way through to the very end of your project. So there's going to be a matter of looking at it from a fine art perspective is always beneficial. Understanding things like color and form and figure, like I mentioned. Looking at it from photography, that has its own sort of approach with regards to color as well. In this case, we're talking about digital color or additive color, which is what we see off of our screens. Learning how that works carries all the way through. So there hasn't been anything that I've learned in the last 14 years that hasn't still maintained relevancy. It's fantastic, actually.
That's amazing description from start to finish of like to look at visual effects and seeing it from the lens of the photographer. And what you said, Sebastian, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say it's not, all of these things are not prerequisites. You don't have to know how to draw to get into this. You don't have to take pictures to get into this. What we're saying is that all of these things might lead you here.
Yes.
So all of these things, you may already have an edge for it. You may already have an interest for. I always like to take pictures. So that then translated very well into my job right now. So maybe someone who likes drawing goes into illustration, then moving illustration, and then can apply that into animation, for example. There's always stuff like that, but it's not that like you have to know these things beforehand. All of these things can be learned and practiced. And all of this, everything that we're talking about here, time and experience is vital. It all of this takes time. All of our skill sets, there's so many things that we have to apply to do our jobs that it's nothing. None of this you can learn in a year, in 6 months, in a course, and that's it. Of course, you can train and you can go to college for it. But then your career will develop, and your point of view as an artist will develop in time.
Okay, I like this. Okay, we're getting questions. Look, you guys are hitting some notes here. Everybody's like, "Hey, this is my song." I like that the fact that you guys are speaking from a very tangible perspective. Like you don't have to necessarily go this way, that way. It's because of what you're passionate about doing. All of a sudden, it leads you here, and then it opens up this whole other world where you're meeting people who are doing amazing things you admire.
Yes.
So what is it like to work in the industry? Like, how is it for you? Like, is it exciting? Like, a lot of people don't know about visual effects and how it works.
It has its simultaneous sort of it's kind of a paradox. It is very exciting. It has a lot of really fun things, especially if you're a fan of things like pop culture, or in this case, how you're talking about following your passion. I've gotten more than one job because I told the hiring managers, "Hey, I'm a super nerd when it comes to this hobby, and I heard there's a project that might be related to that." And then they call me on board, and I'm related. I'm the person that they're asking whether it's the details of something or whatever it might be, but to definitely lean into that. So the paradox that I'm getting at here is that there's a lot of excitement and interest in what we do. However, the reality of the day-to-day is that, as Sebastian mentioned, it takes a lot of hard work, and a lot of times it is a very slow progression. So it's a lot of work for maybe a few seconds of a finished piece of film, or it might be a lot of work for something that looks amazing and then goes by in a flash. Sometimes you have longer shots. That's fine too. That's also another challenge. But
you could be adding, like you could say, you could just be adding detail to one particular part of the scene. That it's only a flash.
You're working on this like a second. You could be working on a second of the movie.
And how long would
And
that take you to work on a quote unquote a second?
Exactly. That will completely depend on the task, you know.
right.
But there's where it feels like a fast-paced career because of the pace at which it moves schedule-wise, and the numbers of projects that you have a chance to interact with, and the number of people that you have to work with. So that can make it feel like it is very fast-paced. However, the sitting down and doing the work is literally that, sitting down and doing the work. So if we were to say, let's have a documentary about this, man, you guys might be bored until we get to the conversations about, the creative conversations. But when you go to execute, it is a sort of it is like any other job that requires focus and dedication
Yeah.
into it. So
It
again,
is
it moves quick,
rewarding
but
though.
it
It
is
is
very rewarding.
rewarding. The first time you see your name in the credits of something,
Yes.
it is. I mean, I remember the first time that happened. Telling my parents, and they seeing my name in something that I did, and then they feeling proud for me. It is a thing that you don't forget. I mean, you get used to it if you are constantly working on it, and something like this. But it is rewarding, and all the hard work that you put into it, all those hours you don't get back, but the finished product always tends to be worth it.
Yeah.
Be worth it.
It's-
Not only the product, but the people that you work with
Yeah.
too. Like the teams. The teams are like a big part of any of these projects. The people.
Yeah.
Well, it's
absolutely.
interesting that you mentioned that, because in the Hispanic and Latin community, they have, visual effects was probably far from, like a goal of a career. Like, what? You want to do what? You going to go to America? What? You going to do what? So how did you convince your family members that this is the right career path for you, even though you were bumping your head here and there? How do you guys convince your family members that this is something that's very worthwhile?
Oh man. I
I mean, I hope your parents
yeah.
are watching.
No,
Like,
absolutely, no. I think
think you. I mean, you have to. It's like any other career. You have to be passionate about it.
right.
As Jose mentioned previously, it's tough, meaning hard work, but it is rewarding. But you have to be passionate about it. So I think that when you're beginning, it's all motivation. You have to want it, and I think if you have that want and that grit to like push through it, those first steps, then you will find the momentum that you need to pursue the career.
Yeah.
Excellent. What about you, Jose?
For me, it was an interesting journey. I think my parents both understand what it means to follow your passion. My dad is a mechanic and my mom is a driver. They both love cars and they're a match made in heaven. So
That's crazy.
Yeah. So and in my dad's side of the family, his siblings and his parents, they were on the automotive side as well. Body shops and towing companies and car parts. They had the whole theme. So they understood that aspect of it. What they didn't always understand was when I tried to explain what I was trying to do. It wasn't until I think it was maybe I'd been in this industry for about almost 10 years, and I took him to the first movie that I got to go see with them. And like how Sebastian was saying, I think we went to go see The Greatest Showman. And even up until then, my mom was like, oh, he's an animator, I think, and so I think that therein lies exactly where the importance is of having people in this industry of Latin and Hispanic heritage, because bringing that back not only for our own families is important as an exposure to what is our culture of interest, because in this industry it's almost, we do have our own sort of subculture, and it sounds really, really weird once we've been in it. And a friend and I were talking about it, in that sometimes when we talk to people who might not understand or be a part of it, it might come off a certain way. So for example, Sebastian might introduce me to someone and we get to talking. It's like, oh, what do you do? Like, what's your discipline? What's your field? Oh, where have you worked? Well, oh yeah, you worked at this project. Oh, cool. And we kind of exchange that and we get to know each other in that way. And then for us, it was just like nothing at all. And then like for someone who was a family who wasn't exposed to the industry, was like, it sounds like you guys are just name dropping. And we're like, no, that's actually not the thing. Like there is a culture and language to communicate and to just like kind of, feel each other out as far as like where we come from and where we're, what we're talking about. And it's very common for that kind of a conversation, but those things might not be as common, with people who might not work in the industry. So it has its own subculture. It has its own thing. But I feel like I'm losing my train of thought. My apologies.
I was going to add that we're not trying to do that intentionally. We're on each of us are on our own path or developing our careers. We are also setting an example that for others, that if I can do it, then you can do it too. Yes. So someone that might be doubting, that might say, I'm from an underrepresented community. I'm from far away. Like me, I'm from all over the globe. I'm far away from home and friends and family. You can do it too. And once you get into this, you will find a lot of people like you and Jose and me that we have things in common. And we would have not met if it wasn't because we just tried it and went ahead with it.
So excellent. Well, this before you introduce Mike, he's been waiting in the background. He's your other colleague. Yeah. Ready, Mike? Thumbs up, Mike. He's ready. And I'm gonna add him to the stream. Let's see. Did it go? Adding.
Oh, he was there.
Didn't. And there it goes.
Hello, can you hear me?
It's just a little. I can hear you. We can hear you.
Great conversation, guys.
Oh, you were hearing the conversation. That's
cool. Oh, I was listening to everything. So,
thank you.
So, introduce yourself, Mike, and what do you do, and how do you do it, and why are you here?
Well, first off, I started visual effects about 28 years ago. Basically, I'm currently what you call a tracking lead. So I work for Encore in Hollywood, and basically I do scene setups and camera moves, and basically setting up 3D shots for artists to use. But I've done a number of different things. I've been an effects artist. I've been a previs artist. I've been all sorts of. I was a roto artist for a little while. So I've been doing a lot of different disciplines over the years. So
he's a great example of what I was talking about. Yeah.
Exactly.
You've been listening to the conversation about all these different, your hand is in the pot and you don't know what you're gonna get when it's like gumbo, it's like a good soup or good stew. Like you're eating things and things just come out. You're like, what is this flavor? I love it. So
because I could relate to just about everything the panel has been saying about, you learn disciplines and you learn, you basically just learn how to do the process in general. And once you do that, you can interchange yourself into just about any part of the industry. And that's not just what you call the entertainment part of it. It's not just TV. It's not just movies. Games are a huge part of what a lot of 3D artists that are no longer in television and movies are now in the game industry, and their talents translate perfectly over to that too. So
yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned gaming. I watch these video games now, and I'm a video gamer, but my house it is, and I swear it's like watching a real life movie, and it's so, you're sitting there and the storyline, and then the people who are playing, they look real. That's a great. That's what you're trying to do, Sebastian.
And it's getting better.
You're trying to make it look.
Yeah.
And it's getting better. It's getting better and better until we cannot differentiate it from reality. Yeah. We're not that far.
Yeah, and now, and I've mentioned this before on other panels I've been, lately the big thing is what you call virtual production. Mm-hmm. I started studying a little bit of it. Basically what it is that Unreal Engine is a game system. They're the ones who created Unreal Tournament and Fortnite and some of the bigger games. They're basically letting you use their software to do what you call virtual production. So you can actually shoot using a camera on stage and project any kind of image or 3D environment in the background while you're shooting, and it'll record it through a live camera.
Mm-hmm. Right, so they're essentially taking a technology that they developed for the gaming industry, and now it's applied to the film industry.
And what that's really done, though, when we're talking about the pipeline, though, is that those different skill sets that landed in those different steps, those steps are now in a different order depending on what that project needs. But with virtual production, a lot of what was typically planned out in post-production and taken care of in that part, for example, compositing, is now part of the pre-planning stage. The reason is that you're literally getting all your pieces together before you even turn on the camera, and then filming it all together. So it's a little bit of a different approach rather than filming it and then assembling it later. So the skill sets that are in one pipeline, however, still translate to the other pipeline. It's just they might be needed in a different order or different combination of departments, but the skill sets are still one-to-one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so this is a lot. This is a lot. We have questions. Let me. I love it because you guys are just talking amongst each other like, and this and that and this and that, because you guys are in the industry. Yeah. So you guys are getting excited like you guys at a candy store. So now I can see why you said, Jose, that people are like, you name dropping, you do all this stuff, and people are like, why are you doing all that? Like, okay, let's break it down.
Sure.
Okay, so we have some questions in the chat. Let me get the questions out first, and then you guys can answer. And they're gonna sound kind of might be you can hear very clearly, or they might just sound like, okay, that's interesting. Okay, sure. So we already answered that one. How somebody? Okay, wait, let me get this right. In your honest opinion, what is the most challenging part of a virtual production? There we go. That's one question.
That's for Michael, I think.
I'd say the only real part about doing virtual production that can be kind of a drawback is that if, let's say, you come up with an environment and while you're shooting it you like it, but then later on you decide, hey, you know what, I don't really like it as much as I thought, then it becomes a huge challenge to go back and change it in post, because not to get too technical, when you're in virtual production there is no post, you're shooting it live. Mm-hmm. On the fly. So once you get into, if you want to change stuff, then it becomes problematic as far as having to do more work to change it to what you really want. So that would be the most challenging part of it, I'd say.
Okay, the same person asked another question related on a film, or on a project, and have you ever had time where it took the writer too much time to get the production, to get the next pages or to the next scene, and you had to figure it out on your side how to connect all these different pieces? Like when a writer's trying to finish writing another scene while filming, how does that affect you? I guess it's more for television, but in movies and film and like entertainment, I'm kind of trying to get what his question is. He's like, does that make sense? You can look at it in the comments. You can read it out. Who doesn't write in this film all at once? He writes over time. Guys ever? Have to wait. Do anybody have to ever wait for writers to finish writing and while filming? Basically.
Well, what we're doing is a little bit removed from that, meaning we're at the end of the process. So generally, everything is written and hopefully already in production. But if we're working, for example, on episodic TV, there's multiple episodes, and it's very common that the new season of your favorite show premiered already. So you're watching episode 1, and we're probably working on episode 5 or 6.
Yeah.
That's not too uncommon.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of that, not going back to the writing stage, but the thing is still going on, and the show is already on TV, so you have like the deadline looming. But that is exciting too. I mean, it's not uncommon.
Yeah. So I work with a lot of different, well, not in your field, but I train, I coach a lot of people in production on a whole nother, in health and wellness. That's another side thing that I do. And they're constantly, like what you said, Sebastian, thinking about 5 episodes before, like you're watching the show now, but they're 5 episodes ahead because they know that it's going to be, that clock is going to tick. And
well, we haven't talked about producers. So that's another huge role in visual effects. So the people that are managing our time, someone needs to have everything in their head and plan ahead, because we have to be on the computer doing the work. We cannot be talking to a client and answering emails. Someone's doing that for us, so that we can do our best job. So there's also that side of the visual effects industry, which is coordinators, production, directors, the supervisors, client-side supervisors. And you see, there's all these other roles that are as important as any of our roles too.
Yeah. Now, if I can, I had a really great analogy that was told to me when I was early in my career. A lot of the more of the artist side, we talk about the technical side, and then you're talking about the production or administrative side that are handling and planning things. The analogy that was presented to me was that of like a football team, in that you have the artists are like your offense team, and the job of offense is to try to score points and try to create the final product and get the job done. The job of defense, or in this case production, is to create the opportunities for offense. They're the ones who are organizing the shots, or maybe even bidding out the project to even say, we think like this is what we think it's going to take in cost of time and money. That's something that isn't often dealt with by the artist, because we're dealing with the technical side as well. So they're different. It's split up into these different responsibilities. So it is a much more of a support sort of role that interacts with the artistry side, and it's really difficult to imagine them working one without the other. Because it is really one part of one. It's 2 parts of one organization, if you will.
Okay, so everybody's loving your conversation. I'm getting it all.
Thank you so much.
I love it. Okay, so there's a couple of questions. Do animators interact with the writers during any phase of the project? Do they interact with? That's another question in our chat. Do they interact with any person?
I think the role that would interact more with the writing process would be the director. So there's someone at the head of the project, someone that has what their intention is, where they want to go, and our role in a project will be to fulfill that vision that someone has for a project, where it needs to go, and we will collaborate with that client, that director, that company, to make it happen.
Go ahead. Anybody want to add to that?
I was going to add that. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say that you may get a little collaboration with a writer if you work on an animated movie, because that pipeline's a lot tighter. And it's kind of self-contained. So, it's not uncommon for you to go sit down with a director to set up your shots directly, for timing and for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then they do more changes directly, to script that way. Other than that,
Right.
I'd say on television or movie side, you don't generally, you don't generally get involved with the writing part of it.
Yeah. I was going to say that as Sebastian mentioned, that we're a little far removed. Now, a part of that is because of the way that either the company or the project might be set up. The way that what I mean by that is if you have the animators and the writers under the same roof, for example, if you had one animation studio that's handling the season of a show, for example, that might be more likely in a case there. But for the most part, in visual effects, a lot of companies are set up as vendors, where you have a larger studio who needs help or who just has a specialty request. So there were some studios who were like, "Hey, we do fur and animals," and other ones are like, "We do space and robots." And so studios might have their own specialty if they become boutique, or they might just say like, "We're a generalist and we do general support." So the majority of visual effects studios are in that vendor sort of role. Where they are then working with the main client, who might be, Industrial Light and Magic, or might be Pixar. And Pixar usually handles all their stuff in house, but animation studios, for the most part, do their stuff in house. Yeah, in that case, it's the relationship of how's the company that you're working for, or yourself as a freelancer, working with whoever's creating the content or the IP in that case. So yeah, if you're working with the writers in the same building, maybe, but most likely not, just because of the nature of it being a separate company.
Okay, so you're just
Right.
okay. I'm a little older than what I look. Okay, so I remember when Pixar got formed and it started its company, and they have those beautiful brands that they pumped out.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was all that in one house, all these great, production team, everybody had their own gift and they were just building this beautiful, these projects.
Mhm.
So how is it in the industry working now where you can be part of one boutique place and then you have to shift here and there and go look for other jobs? Like, how does that work for your everyday? Are you looking for a new job? Are you being referred out, or you set your home in one studio, or how does that work for somebody like you guys?
I think as Jose said previously, like he mentioned previously, there's a lot of people in the industry, but at the same time, you kind of bump into each other, working for different companies and different projects. And now with after COVID, with the remote work situation, it's very common now for companies to hire artists outside of their home country. So that was not so common before, and now it's super common. So now you will probably get the chance to see each other, see people from all over the world over and over again. That in a previous situation where we would just go into an office, you will only see the people that are physically there. So there's a lot of opportunity there, meaning, for example, Jose and I, we know each other, and I might refer him because I have like a great reference from working from him. So now I moved to a different company and they need someone, and I know that he has the right skill set. So I will reach out to him, and that's how you start to get connected with the rest of the people, because you want to work again with the people that you feel comfortable working with. That's the
Right.
other thing.
And they're going to get their job done and they do it well.
Exactly.
Or you're on finish time, especially if you're assigned to a project and they say, "Hey, do you know somebody who can do this, that, and another?"
That happens all the time.
Right.
That is number one, like without a doubt, the best way for people to get jobs. Really.
Yes. Okay, you guys are listening, right? The best way to get jobs is what? Let's reiterate this.
Networking. 100% networking. Yes.
And being nice. And not only like doing the work. Of course, doing the work is the first priority in a job, but also like being nice to work with, and because like we said before, it's a lot of work. So you want to have like an enjoyable experience going through it. So the best way is to have people around you that will support you, and that you feel like motivated to go to work every day.
Yeah, the entertainment community is synonymous for being cutthroat, mean, ego driven, and I'm as good as people try to actually put their egos before their actual work, and then actually when they come to work, nobody wants to work with them because their egos are big. So being nice and integral is the key thing for any line of work, but for the most part, when you're on projects for short periods of time, you have hard deadlines. It's a very stressful environment sometimes, or it can be, a little bit more inviting and more relaxed, but at the same time, there's a lot at stake because a lot of money is involved in making these productions. So you want to be nice and you want to be integral. So let's have the young people ask some questions. The chat is blowing up. I can't answer fast enough in the chat.
Let's do it.
So let me see if some of these people want to come on and ask you guys questions.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, Dante, Daniel, Nagoon, George, David, I'm calling you guys out. So I'm going to add to the stream one at a time. You got to get one good question in, then we're going to go to the next. If you don't want a question, then you can just pop off. Okay, we're going to keep it like that.
Cool.
Dante, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Do you want to ask a question to our wonderful guests from the Visual Effects Society?
I was wondering, how does it feel for a director, executive, or showrunner to change the trajectory of a project from one direction to another direction?
Horrible. No. I think that a lot of times that can be a creative part. It's just a part of the process that is inherent with any kind of creative endeavor. So there are some parts of the industry that are just kind of, you are trying to work smarter, not harder, so that when changes come, you can address them in the most efficient way. When it's a complete change, if it's like a huge thing, that is completely and directly related to how far away the deadline is. If we have like a really long amount of time, hey man, change away. And if something, needs to get redone, that stinks, but not, it's not as bad of a time. Once it starts feeling like it's affecting the everyday life of the team, that's where it becomes more distressing if something like that happens. But even then, there's still a matter of communicating, because we've been in situations where there was a big change and the change was communicated in a way that felt necessary, that felt understood, and the whole team felt like we're in it together versus, oh man, someone made a mistake and now we're paying for it. So the communication is a very, very vital part of that.
Absolutely.
Dante, can I ask you a question? Because Jose answered it for you. What line of work are you interested in the entertainment industry, if you're interested?
I'm interested in the TV industry as a storyboard artist.
Oh.
Any advice you can give him, Sebastian, Mike, or Jose, about being a storyboard artist?
I would say go for it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I would say for storyboard, don't limit yourself to just TV. Definitely see if there's episodic. It could be film. It could be for independent projects. The storyboarding skill set will definitely carry into multiple aspects of that. I think even potentially gaming. So look everywhere. And from the best advice I got from a friend of mine who is a storyboard artist is to just draw a lot, more than you think you need to, even more so with storyboarding.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, like try not to put yourself into a bucket and be open-minded, because there's more, like we've been talking about, there's more than you know. There's more roles there's more branches that you can go into, so keep an open mind. That's important. Then you can make your choices down the road.
Mike, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd suggest it wouldn't be a bad idea to reach out to the Illustrators Union, because they, all these, just about everything in Hollywood has a union, and they can give you kind of more of a path to look for, classes or, connections or workshops or anything of that nature that'll help you get started. I suggest being persistent because, like anything that you really want to do in life, you'll probably get a lot of doors slammed in your face. But at the same time, the more persistent you are, the more you want to do it, you get back up and you keep going at it. And eventually you'll get there. You'll get there. But you have to be persistent.
Excellent. Thank you, Dante, for your wonderful questions. And we want to say good luck to all your endeavors and just do it. Go.
Yes. Good luck.
All right. I'm removing you from now. So now we're going to call on Daniel.
All right.
You guys are doing great. Daniel, are you there? Or is this Danielle? Is Daniel? Daniel? He's muted. I know. He's muted. I don't know if he stepped away. So I'm going to go to somebody else. I'll let him stay on for just a second. Okay. I can't pronounce your name. It's Asakrar Nilgun.
Yes, Nilgun.
Nilgun. Hey.
Hello. Welcome.
How do you pronounce your last name? I want to get that right.
Askari.
Askari. Okay, I would have messed that up.
Okay.
Now, ask your question. Do you want to ask a question?
Yes. I have a question. So how do people usually get into writing teams? Like writing for animation usually is performed as a group or individual. How does it work in general? Because I'm a storyteller, and that's a part that interests me the most.
Oh man, that's a great question. And I don't know if I have as much direct experience with that to be able to.
Me neither, but I'm sure like going to film school, like film background, like
screenwriting.
Screenwriting, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
One of the things that might be more immediately accessible, more of a minor recommendation, but whenever there's any kind of events like SIGGRAPH or Comic-Con or anything like that, definitely check out the animation studios that are there. And there are tons of them that have a lot of really great meet and greet programs, and they have a lot of or meet and greet events. And then they also have a lot of really cool like pitch events where if you have an idea, you can go pitch that. And there are tons of stores and shows that were picked up via Cartoon Network or Adult Swim through these kinds of events. So is that something that is a guaranteed thing? No, but it's a great resource to keep an eye out for sure.
Let me ask you, Nigel, are you in California, Los Angeles area?
Yeah. I'm attending CSUN.
Okay, great. Oh, CSUN, that's one of our, okay. So
yeah, I'm actually an animation major.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, that's the thing. But I don't know how much a school can teach me. Being a working as an storyteller, individual animation maker,
I could recommend most certainly also reaching out to a nonprofit organization that's they have locations all over the country, but in Los Angeles, particular Women in Animation. That is a wonderful nonprofit that has it's called Women in Animation, but a third of its members are also male. It again is a networking group that is specifically geared towards the animation industry, and exactly what those kinds of questions that you have, they'd be able to direct you for sure with somebody that would be involved. That would be highly recommended for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Also,
go ahead. Oh, Mike.
Yeah, to add to it, there's a website. It's called thehollylist.com. And it lists kind of a bunch of different types of jobs in Hollywood, like being assistant to showrunner or a production assistant, or but sometimes they'll put in like assistant to writer, things of that nature.
The website again? Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
it's called the Holly List, like Hollywood. So HOLLY list, LIST.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
And also, I worked for Disney for a couple of years on a few animated projects, and they always gave you an opportunity when you're at Disney that they said if you had any story that you wanted to tell, you could actually present it to them, and they would take it into consideration. So that's ways of getting your stuff actually seen. but you'd have to see if you can get an assistant job or something at Disney. So I'd keep an eye out for those kind of things. So
Isn't that how Pixar used to work? Like they would surface projects that would come from inside the company. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
And that's another really good point there. I again, don't put yourself in a limiting situation. If there's an opportunity that you feel you would be able to perform the job you're required, but it's not exactly what you're trying to do, you have the opportunity to go there and still be able to network through the company that you're there.
Yes,
and
be inside the building.
Yeah, and I really think that every single company that I've worked at some point or another, whether it was a lead or a manager, has shown some interest in what I was hoping to do, how I was hoping to grow. So that part is definitely a thing that is communicatable, is encouraged to communicate when you're at a studio or at a job like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, go hang out where all the writers do, and then take them to lunch and get to know them, and be there all the time, because eventually they feel like they get sick of you. They're like, you know what, I'll give you a job, kind of thing. So
Great.
but yeah, it's like when I first started in visual effects, that's how I got started. I met somebody while I was doing I was studying one of the 3D packages. Back then it was called Power Animator, and now it's called Maya.
Yeah.
But one of the guys in our class worked for Disney, and so I used to go have lunch with him every chance I could, and then I'd go talk to his boss, and I get to know him and the people around his department, and pretty soon they just thought I was one of the people that were in that group.
That's wonderful.
But then that's how I got my job offer. He offered me an internship that turned into later a full-time position, and that's how you get started.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love this. Okay, so that real quick, I just want to make sure you have this link on our website, thecollegeexpo.org/students/college-internships and careers. You can screenshot that. Really simple. You can go on our website. We have our 2 major studios that we work with as far as early careers and internships is Nickelodeon Animation, Paramount Studios. Oh, I lied. 3 studios, Warner, Discovery. Nice. So I know the recruiters at those companies, and we are on speed dial. So if you reach out to them or send out your stuff and then send me an email, and I will put my stuff up here, or actually, how about this? Let me make sure I'm up here. I'll put a banner up here so you can get that. I thought I had a banner, but I was live.
Thank you so much.
And then you your resume, and then I can forward it directly to them. This goes for everybody who's listening to this call. And you have a good resume. Your projects, can you guys real quick speak about that? Your projects are some of your work that you guys can talk about at school. Like if you're doing stuff at school and it's, it's in line with what you're applying for and you don't have a lot of experience, then your projects actually represent, your part of your experience, and you could place it on your resume or on your reel or whatever, you want to do.
So on that note, real quick, is number 1, yes, in this industry, your reel is other than a personal recommendation from someone, even if you get your foot in the door, the reel is more important than the resume, because it shows what you understand, what you're able to do, and then the expectation that you're setting forth for your skill set. And then the best way recently for communicating as well would be to make a really good LinkedIn page and talk to recruiters there. In your case, if you're looking for other writers, look up writers that are in animation and just reach out. I can't overemphasize how willing people in this industry are to speak to anybody who wants to learn or has questions. Like, we're all really excited to help.
Okay, great.
Because once you're like in the industry and you know how hard it was to get in, you want to help people come join us. So people will be more than willing to help.
And you guys, you're seeing I'm flashing banners so you guys can see who's talking and what they're talking about. So this is very important for you guys listening, that you guys take all this to very serious, because you guys are the future, or you're looking to switch careers within the entertainment industry. This is a wonderful aspect of how you can do it. You might think outside the box. Don't put yourself in a box. Think outside of it, and let's get it going. So thank you for asking your question. Good luck to that. Hopefully we helped
Thank you.
you.
Yes, yes, it was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Can I
you.
add one real quick thing to
Sure.
what you said, Denise?
Sure.
Not putting yourself in a box. I want to. We haven't touched on it. We touched a little bit on an artist and production, but this. I just want to remind everyone that this industry also needs accountants. This also needs managers. This also needs payroll and HR and
Lawyers.
all the supportive staff, lawyers, legal. There are so many things that are branching beyond just making some wonderful art that makes this whole industry go. So I'm telling you, don't limit yourself. There's lots of different opportunities.
Okay, we have a couple more questions, and then we're going to end our segment today. You guys have been wonderful. I didn't have time to do an announcement. I just let's go, because I know this is going to be good. Okay, George, I'm going to add you to the call and see if you want the virtual, if you want to ask a question on our live stream. Do you want to ask a question, George?
Hello?
Hi, do you want to ask a question?
Well, let's see. One question that I always get asked is, if you don't have the entire skill set, but you have part of the skill set that one needs on a show when you're getting into, let's say you're getting a gig, is it, because a lot of people, especially for myself as well, they get scared that, they can do part of the job, but not the entire thing. And if you come into any type of trouble, like a lot of artists or technical people, especially, they sometimes are scared to actually ask for outside help, thinking that
Okay.
I like that question. That's different. I like it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Anybody want to ask?
Yeah. So number one, I've definitely experienced this myself, even in my later years in the industry. Number one is to definitely apply, because every single job posting that's up there is the ideal candidate. So even if you don't have everything that's there, trust me, you're going to be hitting so many check boxes. And especially right now, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work. The second thing about that, though, is that if you feel that something's within your wheel set or your capacity to learn and pick up or adapt from a different skill set, I wouldn't let that hinder you. However, if there is an expectation that you're like, hey, I'm expected to know this really well and someone's going to rely on me, then you need to communicate that. And I've done that before, where I'm like, hey, you hired me for skill A and think I have skill B, but I'm trying to tell you I'm a novice at that, and I'm honest.
Right.
That's the important thing, because you're not trying to sound cool. You're trying to help someone plan who they have to work on something. As far as not knowing something, it is drilled into as many people as we can from day one. If you don't know something, ask. It's never looked down upon if you don't know something. It's looked down upon if you spent a week and didn't say anything, and then suddenly a week later, there's nothing to show. If you spend some time making an honest effort and trying to assess and approach a situation, but you still are like not sure what to do, ask. Every lead manager, a supervisor will 100% encourage that. Just ask.
Yeah, and people are not expected to know everything. There's none of us know everything about what we do. So that's going, like, tying it back to the very beginning. It is a team of people that gets to do this. So even if you don't know,
isn't the industry always changing too, as far as the technical skill set? And you can know the old way when you come into the project and be like, wait, we're doing this new way. And you're like,
yeah. Or even here's another more common thing. It was very common for me to simply not use a certain skill set for a long time because it wasn't needed, maybe on a project for a year or two. And then suddenly something that I used to know how to do, maybe, or if something that I haven't done at all, that's just as common too, to have to go look up something that you haven't done before. Happens all the time. I don't know how many tutorials I still watch on a regular basis, and to be honest, I've even gone back and watched my own recordings because I'm like, I taught someone how to do this, and now I am fuzzy on how to do it again, and that's fine.
Yeah, and I think we need to like approach this like relax and just go in and try to do the work, ask for help, and not only we have to learn to ask for help, but also to receive help. A lot of us don't know how to do that either, right? So you have to ask for it and then receive it and then apply it and be cool with all of that, because that's part of creating like a good environment where things get done and everybody feels safe. And to be honest, like Jose was saying, just be honest with what you know, what you don't know, and people will put you in the right place and try to squeeze what you're good at. So yeah, that's it.
Mike, do you want to add to that?
Absolutely. Any industry that you go in for the first time, you're not going to know everything. It's just, even if you've been in there for 30 years or so, there's still more to learn. And that should be your thinking, is that I'm going to go in and I'm going to try and learn as much as I can, get as many tools as I can from my tool set. Anything that you can add or learn or pick up that'll add value, those are the things that people are going to keep hiring you for. So, just my suggestion is go and learn, be this big sponge and soak up as much of the information about what you're doing as you can. And over time, you'll get so good at it, the more you practice it, that you become an expert at it. That's how you do it. So, don't let what you think your limitations are stop you from going forward and doing something that you could probably really be good at eventually. So
I love it. So George, did that answer your question?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
and what? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know that. I know that part.
I hope you feel encouraged. That's the main thing. The main takeaway. Like,
what role in entertainment are you looking to pursue?
Oh, I'm between mid and senior effects TD.
Oh, that's amazing.
I think I know this voice. It's a very small industry. Is this George Jimenez?
Of course it is.
Oh,
you see,
yeah,
it's happening in real time while we're talking about.
Oh, it's wonderful.
A network of people who know each other in this industry, and that's how you guys get hired and figure out your way.
You already have an in.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. We have an in. So
excellent. Well, thank you, George, for joining us, and hopefully this has helped
you guys for answering the one of those weird questions that everybody's like too scared to ask, but then you have to.
Thank you for asking it, George.
Thank you for asking it, and continue to watch. We're going to have one more question, or I'm going to bring one more person on and see if they have a question. Okay, David, you're up. Hopefully you have a question. David, are you there, or did you disappear and go get something to eat?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Can
network problems here. But...
Oh, okay. Do you want to type it in the chat? I can hear you, barely.
Yeah, I think it's probably best.
Okay, you can type it in the chat. All right. So while we wait for him to type it in the chat, I want to just reiterate a few things that you guys touched on, which is very important. Your network is what we call your network is your net worth. So it's all who you know. That's going to actually expand your career pathway, create more jobs for you, give you more notoriety of what you're doing and what you're passionate about. So they kind of aligns to what you think that your purpose is in the entertainment industry. And secondly, you don't want to limit yourself, so to speak. That's the key thing. It's like you get stuck in your head. I have to do this. I have to do this. But it's not really what you think you have to do. It's what you're good at and what you can do so well that it can open up more doors for you to learn something else. You want to have a mastered, skill, excel in that mastered skill, especially in the entertainment industry, especially in visual effects, so to speak, and then let it open you up to something else never thought it was possible.
Yeah, notoriety will come later.
Yeah.
You're not shooting for that. You're shooting for being good at what you do and what you like doing and being passionate about it. And then all the good things come afterwards as a result of that.
Yeah. Now, one of the challenges that I would present to anybody here who's getting started, because it's accessible, and boy, did I learn a lot doing this very, very early on, is there's a lot of really great tutorials online for whatever topic you are trying to learn. That's great. I challenge any of you to find a tutorial that you particularly like and try to recreate all of the assets or all of the materials that went with it. Don't try to use what was there. So for example, when I was a student, I saw a tutorial of how to make a beach, stormy weather, for example. So I went to the beach, I shot my own beach with even a cell phone or whatever it might be. I was in a parking lot in my apartment and saw a palm tree on a windy day, filmed that, and then slowly gathered those things just to try to see if I can recreate it. And now it wasn't necessarily, the goal was to try to recreate what was going on. But what I ended up learning was all of the steps that went there for the things that were already provided to me. Creating all those things gave me like a crazy education in the span of one short tutorial. Being able, so you learn all the things that you have to consider, or if you do something that's slightly different than what was there, you're going to see how that's going to translate into more or less work depending on your decisions that you made. So find a tutorial that you like, see if you can recreate it with just stuff that you have available to you. And that will also set you apart when you are first getting started and you have a sea of people applying with the same tutorials.
Right, and not only there's a sea of tutorials, there's also great access to tools that maybe 15, 20 years ago would have been much harder to get. So now you have your cell phone, it films in 4K. You can take amazing pictures, you can do crazy drawing in your iPad. So use those tools, not only for consuming, but also for creating.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a great time to jump into this industry, I think.
Excellent. Mike, you want to add to that?
This kind of falls back to when we did that event the couple months ago. Someone had asked me about what they need to do to because they had a project they wanted to do. Well, they wanted to know what you do, and I said, look, treat it like you're a professional. Storyboard it, get your script ready, get some friends together so you could have like actors and everything, and then just shoot it yourself. Use whatever camera that you can do, edit it together, and then just keep going and doing your own projects if that's what you want to do. That's how you get good at anything. You just keep doing it over and over. I was telling them that Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese were asked, how do I make a movie? And they're like, well, you do it. You just shoot it. Shoot whatever you want. Spielberg started doing his own, short films when he was a kid, using miniature airplanes and things like that. And he did it so much that he got good at it. And now look at him. He does whatever project he wants. And that's, the same thing for, Scorsese was a film historian at NYU. And, he had the passion for film. He shot his own stuff and kept going and going. That's how you start. You start with whatever means you can, and then just keep doing it until you're good at it.
Yeah.
And I would add to that, we got the question in the chat too, but I will add to that is that your tuition at your schools that you're paying for, they pay your instructor salaries and your department salaries. So therefore ask questions.
Yeah.
Learn.
Make the most of it.
Make the most of it while you can. And that's your network. That's the campus that you're located on, whether it's CSUN or NYU, wherever you're at, you can build your projects and start there and it can lead you to wherever you need to go, because that's where you can find your actors, your writers, your directors. You can find everybody right there. And then you have the campus utilize their editing rooms, and everything's it's all a part of your tuition.
Absolutely.
So please take this time, because once you graduate out of these colleges and universities, or these these community college, wherever you're at, it's harder. It's harder to find your way, and you have to knock on more doors, but you're already in a place where the doors are already open.
Right.
They were saying that James Cameron used to go over to USC's library, and he'd go to the cinema library and basically pull out books and use a copier machine and copy all these articles and information, and get anything he can to start his his film career. And that's what he did. I mean, that's brilliant. If you have that kind of passion to do it, you find a way to do it. So
that's right.
And there's also your first chance of being surrounded by people with common interests. So that's a big thing too.
Great.
Absolutely.
David wrote in the chat, this is our last and final question to close us out. I always wanted to go through the creative side of the visuals as far as 2D, 3D animations and visual effects within films and videos. So I guess the question that I have to ask is, what advice would you give someone who wants to make personal related creative projects? Like, where and how can I start if I wanted to make it my own? Although I know it can be really challenging, but I'm willing to do it. He kind of answered the question for himself. Any advice you guys want to kind of close them out? That's a good question, just kind of in general, to kind of close us out. Any final advice for those people who are interested in specific fields like 2D, 3D animation and others?
Sure. Go ahead. Oh, I finally got some feedback. Sorry. Okay. As far as personal projects, anything like that, the best advice that I could definitely give you is to don't forget about it, because when one is working in the industry, or if one starts getting those jobs, sometimes that personal development can be more difficult to find time to do. So when it comes to those personal projects, definitely, as we were saying earlier, do whatever you can, but just do it. It definitely helps if you have a goal of what you're shooting for. Some of the topics can be very, very broad, and so it can be very intimidating when you try to jump into something for the first time. So definitely having a goal, even if it's a minor direction for your own self, can be very helpful when you start learning these things and going through the creative side of learning this. Hey, I want to make an elephant on a tightrope, and now I'm gonna figure out how to do that in a 3D program or a painting program or compositing program, whatever it might be, can help. But more importantly too, is to try to have a goal onto what is it that you're trying to learn that you're hoping will be, you can carry forward. So again, in this case, if you're trying to learn how to render something or make something, try to go outside of your comfort zone. When you start getting into more of a specialty, for example, myself in compositing, I started also trying to learn more 3D. So I started learning how to render or how to light a scene, because that's what another department was doing. So that not only expanded my skill set, but it allowed me to communicate with the other departments that much better, because I know what they go through and I know how to communicate the ideas. So try to go out of your comfort zone whenever you can, for sure.
I would also keep. I would say it's more important to keep trying, keep doing, than to try to make it perfect. Yes. It's better to do something and okay, it doesn't look as good as I wanted it to, but move on to the next thing, because that's what gets you good. It's very common when you're starting in digital effects that you are comparing yourself or what you do to, I don't know, Star Wars. So it's not going to look like that on your first day or your first month or your first year. So don't be discouraged. Just keep at it. Okay, this was fine. I learned something. It doesn't look as good as I wanted. Next. That's how you progress. Like, keep doing that. That's the main takeaway.
That's similar to how video games started. When they first started, it was like Atari,
Right.
and
It's
then now it's
iterative.
a movie. So
Exactly.
Right.
somewhere, but the
Yeah.
But they're
visual.
not waiting 20 years not releasing it. You need the feedback. That's the other thing. Like, show it to people. Show what you do to other people.
You need the feedback. You need the
Yeah,
feedback.
the feedback, the critique is part of the process. Then when you are on a paying job, you will have someone critiquing your work, and
Yeah.
that's fine. You have to interpret that and make your changes and stuff like that. So you have to get comfortable with having your work being seen by other people
As
and
far as
them having an opinion on it.
Yeah, I would say as far as maybe reaching out to other people in whatever field you're interested in, forums can be a really good place. I know there's a lot of hesitation and caution with going on to online comments, but I know
Right.
that trying to find user groups for this either the skill that you're trying to learn, or sometimes it's like a specific piece of hardware. Like I want to join a group for this specific camera, and then you have a
Yeah.
bunch of people who are asking similar questions.
There's
or
always a
whatever.
bunch of people that want to talk about anything.
Yeah,
So
and I've seen, fortunately, within visual effects at least, Reddit has been a relatively productive place to go ask questions and get some good answers. So that has been a forum that I could recommend for sure.
Mike, do you want to add a final thought about where to get started, especially if you're in specific areas?
Yeah, I think it's just basically what we've kind of already covered. Just find as much, get to know as many people as you can and what you want to do. It's like the more you kind of be around those kind of people, that have your similar interests, the more they kind of accept you in their community, and then next thing you know, you're part of them.
Yep.
And something I want to stress also, something the visual effects industry really needs are a lot of good women artists. They're underrepresented in our community. I think we need more of them. So if you're interested in, don't hold back. Just get in there. Find out any possible way you can to get yourself in there and learn. Allow yourself to learn as much as you can and enjoy it. You get to enjoy the whole process of learning. All about what we do and how we do it, and you get to see how as a friend used to put, you get to see how the sausage is made. So it's a great industry. It's something I've been passionate about for the last 28 years, and I'm still going strong. So find that passion that you want to do. Find whatever it is in the industry that you really like to do, with your strengths and what makes you feel comfortable, and do it, and allow yourself to grow with it.
Well, before we close out, I want to say thank you to my special guest from the Visual Effects Society. And you guys were amazing. And I put the information in our banner here, the vesglobal.org. One of your advocates, Rose, she's amazing. She always brings you guys on. When I say I need somebody, she said, I got the right people for you. And she mentioned that you click on the resources tab and find education initiatives. And that way you can stay connected to what's going on in the world of the visual effects, and also learn how you can build your skill set. In addition to, as you begin to build your skill set and get recognized, the Visual Effects Society will be recognizing you once you start building your projects and going out there and doing all the work. You just can't get in. You got to be invited in. So I understand that. So could you real briefly tell us the importance of the VES and how that has changed your career, just real quickly?
Absolutely. The Visual Effects Society as an organization is first and foremost, it creates opportunities and recognition for those within our industry. So those opportunities of recognition are also because there's been a long time where the visual effects industry and the skill sets within them weren't as recognized by those who, for example, some awarding bodies like the Oscars, Emmys, things like that. And we wanted to make sure that there's an emphasis on the people who are actually creating these amazing works of art that are integral to, I mean, it's consumed by everybody's day at some point. And the other thing that we do is provide opportunities for education and networking. So with those three facets, what we're trying to do is essentially create a community that is more than just a regional community, but rather between different parts of the world, because our industry is a global industry. And we want to make sure that those who are a part of it know that. We have some parts of the world where we have literally a single member in their country, and that's okay. And then we have other parts where we have these huge hubs. More importantly, we're trying to share information, pay it forward, and recognize the hard work of those who are making these wonderful things. So.
And the final point I want to let you guys are trying to increase diversity voices in your industry, women, color, international people who come from different backgrounds as far as within their culture. That's the key thing, because it's all about what you see on representation, what you see on television, on film, and how it relates back to you. Film has transitioned the whole makeup of how you view the world, how you live your life, how you love people, how you hate people. Like, it has all these different emotional factors that film does to you, and television. It is a medium that's powerful, and we need more powerful representation within it. So
absolutely.
You guys, this was amazing. We getting tons of like, boop, boop, boop. I know it's an hour and some things, but I want to make sure you guys were heard and that your message was sounded. Just real quick, one word or two phrases that kind of wraps you up. Jose, one or two saying,
know yourself, seek self-improvement.
I would say dream big, and shoot for the stars and keep at it. You will eventually get your chance, and you'll find yourself being here and talking to people that want to get in.
Yeah.
Mike,
get in where you fit in, find your spot, and enjoy the ride.
That's awesome. I love that.
I love it. Enjoy the ride. And I would say, don't stop until you get it. Get it all.
Exactly.
Get it all. Yep. Again, this is Mrs. Denise Parker with NCRF. Elevate Your Game is our weekly TV series that we do on YouTube and all the social medias. If you don't find us on YouTube, it'll be on a Zoom recording. You can join us anytime. Reach out to us. This is a perfect opportunity to learn more. The goal is for you to elevate your life and your career pathway so that you'll be successful. Again, continue to do wonderful things from college, careers, and beyond. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Take care.